They thought we were weak. They thought we were inexperienced. But day one of the Headingley Test match was all about India's dominance. A twin centuries, courtesy Captain Shubman Gill, who is still unbeaten on 127 runs. And before that came the storm in the form of Yashasvi Jaiswal, the opener who scored 101 runs. And then the partnership between Shubman Gill and Yashasvi Jaiswal eventually took the game out of England's grasp. Hello and welcome to the Federal. You're watching our special show Inside Edge, England versus India 2025 with me, Abjeet Singh Bhamra. Now, day two of the test match promises quite a lot, especially if you are an Indian fan, because the captain, Shubman Gill, is still out there, and with him is the adventurous, is someone you can never predict what's coming next. Rishabh Pant, the wicketkeeper batter, and also the new vice captain of the Indian Test cricket team, who is unbeaten on 65 not out, eyeing at one more overseas hundreds. We'll break down as to what potentially India's targets would be. We'll also break down how can England stage a comeback, and also whether India can touch 500 runs or even go further and think about 600 runs. So, first things first, the experts are just pulling their hair out as to why Ben Stokes you decided to put India into bat, especially after winning the toss and looking at the wicket, which looked absolutely dry, which looked absolutely full of runs. But the Indian fans, or rather should I say, the Indian openers weren't complaining one bit, because KL Rahul scored a flawless 42 before giving that edge to Joe Root in first slip. But Yashasvi Jaiswal was on a mission. After, what can you say, a rather subdued tour to Australia, Yashasvi Jaiswal has come into his own. He registered his fifth Test 100 and the second outside India. Before this, he had 100 in Australia. In Perth, if you remember, that was a match-winning 100 there as well. But with England, he has a special connection. Because if you remember last year, when England was in India, it was all about Yashasvi Jaiswal scoring those big hundreds. He scored over 700 runs in the series, becoming only the second batter in Indian Test cricket history after the great Sunil Gavaskar to score 700 runs or more in a bilateral Test series against England. Now that's quite a feat. If that was not good enough, he registered his maiden Test 100 on England soil, and that too in his first outing in England. Now that's quite a feat, irrespective of how flat the conditions were, irrespective of how ineffective England bowling was. But can you take anything away from that youngster? And he's only 23 and registered. He has a Test 100 in West Indies. He has a Test 100 in Australia. He has a Test 100 in England. So when you talk about the benchmark for any Indian batter, you always tend to think about where has he scored his runs. And when it comes to Sena countries, it's only South Africa that is pending in his checklist. But that too will come soon. But let's focus on his innings over here, because his innings just laid the foundation for Captain Shubman Gill to arrive and then dominate England bowling attack. A lot of questions were raised on Shubman Gill's ability to score outside India, because before this he had 5 Test 100s, but 4 of them came on Indian soil. Just one, and that too outside India, came in the Test match against Bangladesh. So literally he has 500s on the subcontinent, or rather in the subcontinent conditions. He had a very disastrous tour to Australia, where he was also dropped from the fourth Test match, only to be replaced once again for the Sydney Test match when Rohit Sharma decided to opt out. Now, coming into this Test match with loads of expectations, coming into this Test match in the absence of Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Ravichandran Ashwin, and also the additional responsibility of being India's 37th Test captain. Now, that's quite demanding. Now, that is something which can even break the best of batters. Forget even Shubman Gill, and he's only 25 years old, 25 or 26. But how did he respond? He responded in a style as to why Gautam Gambhir, why the selectors rate him so highly, why Virat Kohli actually told in 2018 and 19 that he is 10 times better than himself. Now, if it comes from Virat Kohli, it has to be you have to be something special, just like how Sachin Tendulkar, the baton was passed to Virat Kohli. From Virat Kohli, it is now passed to Shubman Gill. So let's focus on the innings here, and he is not done yet. He will be eyeing a double hundred, make no mistake about it. He is 127 not out. He is looking flawless. He should get the amount of runs which he is looking at. India is over 350 runs at stumps on day one. How many times can you actually say this when it comes to Indian Test cricket in overseas conditions and in England? The last time when a team scored over 350 runs against England was Australia, and I can tell you the year was 2002. And this is 2025, so nearly 23 years have passed by, and no team has registered a score that comes even close to Australia's score. But the problems for England doesn't end there. Actually, the problems only multiply from here on. Because on one end, if you have the calmness of Shubman Gill, on the other end, you have the flair of Rishabh Pant. What I saw yesterday was the first ball that he faced of Ben Stokes, or rather in the first few balls that he faced of Ben Stokes, he charged him down the track and scored a boundary, hitting him on the rise. To this, Ben Stokes was laughing, maybe possibly at the audacity which Rishabh Pant showed, but we all know the kind of strokes he plays. He plays some really unorthodox cricketing shots. Yesterday also he played quite a few. He took the risk on because he knew that someone has to be the aggressor. You might not favor the kind of shots that he plays. Maybe you can question his methodology to score runs, but at the end of the day, the guy has 6 test hundreds. He also has hundreds in England, in Australia, but that tells you quite a lot about Rishabh Pant, the cricketer. He is highly efficient, but at the same time, either you will say, why Rishabh, why have you done this? And for some things you will say, wow Rishabh, what a shot you have played. And he will also be eyeing another test 100 in England. He is the only cricketer other than KL Rahul in this side to have toured England 2 times in the past. Last time in 2018, he scored 100, possibly on his debut in England. And now again, he's there at 65 not out. So what does the day 2 has in store, and what plans will the teams have? Let's talk about India's plan first. There is plenty of batting to come. You have the likes of Ravindra Jadeja, you have Karun Nair, and you also have Shardul Thakur. So potentially India has 5 batters left in the dugout, or rather 2 out there and 3 in the dugout, and they should score at least 500 runs on this wicket, unless the wicket behaves completely out of context and then England makes a comeback. But for England to even think about stopping India before 500, they require this first session on day 2 will become extremely crucial. Extremely crucial for them. But who are the bowlers? Because they don't have Jofra Archer, their main speedster. There are plenty of pacers who are out because of injuries. You have Biden Kase, who possibly looked the best of the lot. Chris Wokes, who coming back from an injury, didn't look as effective as he was at one point of time. And for me, the biggest surprise was the use of Shoaib Bashir, the off spinner from England. He is tall, he is lanky, he can get the bounce. He could have struggled, but he was brought onto the attack after 40 overs. So that tells you a lot about England's defensive captaincy. We all talk about baseball. We all talk about things that how England play aggressive and entertaining cricket. But yesterday, possibly Ben Stokes was the best bowler out of the 5 bowlers used by England. So this is a huge worry sign for England, because if they have to rely on Ben Stokes, who doesn't bowl that much these days, then it is a high, or rather it's a very big problem for England, because their main bowlers are not doing the job. Going into day 2, you can expect a lot of fireworks, you can expect a lot of freedom, because once the team, irrespective of which conditions you play, if you get 500 runs or more, or even 550 or even 600. You never know how much is enough on this belter of a wicket. And England too has a very, very strong batting lineup. Rather, you start from Zach Crawley, then you go to Ben Duckett, you have Joe Root, the big fish, Ollie Pope is there. The all England batters, and most of them are in form. But having 500 plus runs on the board will give that extra spring in the step to the Indian bowlers, especially Jasprit Bumrah, who is not expected to play all the 5 test matches. You have Mohammad Siraj, who is coming back into test cricket. You have Prasidh Krishna, who is looking to cement his spot in the side. And you have Shardul Thakur, who has once again made a comeback into this team. So there are a lot of things to prove for this Indian bowling attack. Now the bowlers cannot complain if the batters give them 500 runs or more in the first innings. The bowlers can't complain. They have to go out there and do the job. Is it advantage India? Maybe, maybe not. But the platform has been laid, and now it's up to the Indian batters to continue this merry run, and also then the bowlers to do the job, because once this Duke ball gets old, you are unlikely to get any sort of wicket. So that new cherry, the new Duke ball, has to be utilized properly. But first things first, India is 359 for 3. The target should be nowhere less than 500 or 550 runs, and where India can take it from there. How did you like the video? Do let us know in the comment section. And as always, like, share, and subscribe to the Federal.